G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful channel, podcast number 9.
Yep,
9,
Dogger.
yes. Coming off a loss against the Dees on Saturday. I was in attendance. You were at home. Welcome back to the podcast, mate. It's a lot harder to get yourselves up for these ones when you don't come off a win. But yeah, how you going over there?
Oh, look, I'm not as bad as I could be. Like, at the end of the day, we've played 6 games out of a 23-game season. It's 3-3, and we said during the week that at some point Melbourne are going to pull their finger out and actually put up a performance. And we were hoping it wouldn't be on the weekend. Well, lo and behold, it was on the weekend. They played very, very well. That wasn't just us not being at our best. You know, we put up a reasonable score on the board, and, you know, their 14 premiership players or whatever really stood up to the plate. So, yeah, flattening but not disastrous.
You're saying we're 3-3, not disastrous, but now that we've lost that Sydney one and the Melbourne one, I feel like if you're an actual good, proper contender, you'd really need to take one of those just for the ladder positioning at the end of the year. The Dees did play well. We can get into the game. Don't know exactly why, but I think the main concern from the game was how leaky our defence was. I think in the first half they scored 72 points alone. And if you're scoring 72 points in a half, that is majorly concerning. I think there's a stat, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like if you score over 100 points, you'll win like 87% of football games or something like that. So when you concede that much in the first half, and then they sort of, you know, keep answering every time we kick a goal, we were chasing us all day. 3-3. It's not the worst position to be in, but yeah, it's another 4 points dropped, and we saw at the end of last year what these sort of early season results mean. Even though our best footy will come hopefully later in the year, it still stings.
Yeah, absolutely. You just cannot give up that much in the first half. I said on the preview last week that I think the average that we've conceded this year, excluding the Geelong game, is 66. We conceded, 70 in the first half? No, 74, I think, in the first half. Melbourne's top score for the year was 70 prior to that game. Like, it just went against every statistic we talked about leading into the game. It was just absolutely baffling how well Melbourne played. And I think we looked very fatigued. And I don't want to bring the heat excuse into it, but I think it's very, very sort of relevant. Like, we've just played 5 straight games under the heat policy. I'm not sure how the weather was on the weekend. What was it like?
It was fine.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't a factor as to why we lost.
Doesn't matter, but 5 straight games in the heat policy, 30 plus degrees. Not one other team, maybe West Coast, have had to do that to start the season. These guys are getting fatigued. We look so tired out there. Again, I don't want to
issue. We've cracked the code as to why we lost.
I don't want to make
fatigued. We've played in the sun for 5 weeks.
I don't want to make it an excuse, but when you've got a lot of other teams, 7-day breaks, not leaving their state, playing at night every single week, it obviously is going to be a factor on the bodies of these players. They're not robots. So I think that certainly was a factor. But overall, we just looked a bit off it. And you've got to... I think the last 2 years, we've done this thing after gather round or before gather round where we've just stayed interstate consecutive weeks. And both times, we might have done it in the first year as well. It just hasn't worked. So whether it's a lack of preparation in the lead up to the game as well, changing routine, there are so many small things that went into this game that sort of put us off in hindsight. A lot of our most consistent players, I thought, had really poor games. Like Alex Pearce did not play well. Josh Tracy did not play well. I think I'm hoping this is an anomaly of a game because there were so many obscure things that happened that you just couldn't really script. But yeah, very disappointing. But look, we only lost by 10 points. We played against the Melbourne team, as I said, with 14 premiership players. And I'd say most of those played to a premiership standard. That midfield was silly. Like, it was just Gawn to Petrarca to Viney to Oliver, non-stop, all at their absolute best. And yeah, it was very difficult viewing from a Fremantle point of view. I guess the word dockery's been thrown around a lot this week because, Dees 0-5, you just always got the sense that this was a result we could chuck up, but I do think there are so many factors that went into it, which is why I'm not, agonised about the result.
Yeah, speaking to the midfield there, what really frustrated me on the day, and it is method, was just, it felt like we were leaving Petrarca open at centre bounce so often. Like,
Yeah.
we'd sort of go like 1-on-1, and then it'd be like Brayshaw free, Petrarca free, both at the back of the stoppage. And it was just like, when you've got an underdone Sean Darcy, well, not underdone, but, you know, coming back into the AFL after a long time off, playing ruck, and Oscar McDonald playing second ruck. We had a question from Ben Campbell about that. Sort of, what do we think about that? I hated that, to be honest. Oscar McDonald's played one game for us before doing an injury, comes back into the side and gets asked to play against the best ruckman of the last however long, one of the greatest ruckmen of all time. And we've seen in the last few weeks that even though Melbourne haven't been scoring, their centre clearance game's been really strong. So you chuck in an inexperienced ruckman who hasn't played AFL footy in a year, that, sort of was questionable. Not that we really, we could have maybe brought Liam Reedy in or something like that. But, the absence of Voss was really important in the game, I thought. Just his ability to sort of keep the ball in tight. When you do go in the forward line, the ball was sort of walking out of our forward 50 again, like it was in the first 2 rounds of the season. And Luke Jackson usually has a massive game against the Dees as well. So those were 2 massive outs. Like you said, we only lost by 10 points, which is the most frustrating bit, because I don't feel like we got our game and our trademark going all day, and we still only lost by 10 points. So, bit of a frustrating one. But yeah, what did you sort of make of the performances of our boys overall?
Yeah, all over the ground. I think we looked a bit flat, and it was uncharacteristic from so many of them. Like Serong, again, has been tagged out of the game, and I think that's something Serong's going to have to really grow in maturity in terms of. I think opposition players are finding it quite easy to get under his skin. From what I heard, Taranto last week got under his skin quite easily. This week he copped the hard tag and he was completely taken out of the game. He got held to about 9 or 10 touches by James Jordan earlier this season against Sydney. So it feels like when you tag Serong, apart from last week, it's successful in terms of stopping Fremantle as a whole. So I think that's something he's really got to grow in terms of benefiting our midfield group as a whole, because I thought Andy Brayshaw was fantastic yet again. I thought Hayden Young played a really good game back from injury. I think he's building really nicely. And then I think the other thing was that we just couldn't get our hands on it out of the contest. Like Sean Darcy, that is the worst game I've ever seen him play. It was so odd.
That's a big call.
No, genuinely, I cannot remember the last time I've seen Sean Darcy play that poorly. And second game back from injury, still probably underdone, and he's learning how to apply his trade with sort of a new physical nature. He's a lot slimmer, and he's going to have to learn how to play in that body. Something Sean Darcy's going to have to adapt to. I don't think he played well on the weekend, but look, we've signed him on for 7 years for a very, very good reason. I'm sure he will grow into this season. Another thing I thought, our forwards did not get going all day. And I think on face value, the Boltons and the Reeds especially Bolton had a really good game. I thought Reed had a decent game, but the defensive aspect of our forwards, are you aware of the inside 50 tackle stat?
Was it like 4 to 18 or something like that?
It was 4 to 27.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what we spoke about, like weeks 1 and 2 when we lost to Geelong, and like obviously JL has identified that. We've got a question from Aiden. He said, "Why was Dudley not a starter?" He's showed so much in our first team. Sort of removing Banfield from the game, I didn't think we really. He was obviously subbed off for a reason, and he's definitely on the fringe of this side. But you bring in Dudley, kicks a goal, gets a few touches. Just opens the game up for us completely, and he brings that pressure as well. So I'd prefer to see Banners in the sub-vest if, I had any sort of say in this. But, I didn't realise Sean Darcy had such a bad game, but now looking at the stats, he had 4 touches compared to Gawn's 28. So he was dominated, kicked a couple goals, so at least he's covering the ground well enough. The Oscar McDonald ruck experiment, I never want to see that again. What the fuck?
To be honest, I maybe didn't see it as badly as you did. I think when Darcy was playing really badly, I think we chucked Omac in for some bulk ruck attendances, and I thought he made as good a contest as Darcy did most of the time.
Well, if you're saying Darcy had the worst game of his life, then Omac didn't have much to live
Oscar
up to.
McDonald's also a massively undersized ruck that's barely ever played
He's
ruck
not
at
a
AFL
ruck.
level. Well, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't look. I think Omac did as well as he could have done against, as you said, probably the best ruckman of all time or close to. Yeah, I thought he made a contest. He kicked a goal. That was good to see. As a third tall, missing Voss and Jackson, as you said, is so big. We don't really have anyone to replace them when we need that third tall. You've always got the option of maybe you go with a bit of a smaller forward line and play Banfield a bit more forward, or you do chuck Dudley down there. But yeah, it was a really hard.
I don't get why
field.
we didn't chuck Tracy into the ruck. Like we've seen it, we've seen that before, and he competes well. And JL said in the weeks lead up to it that like that's an option, and we didn't see it all game. I don't think. Jai Amos kicked 3 goals, set up 2 with some really sharp foot skills. So it was good to see him get into the game, but it almost felt like it was at the detriment of Tracy's game, like. Because he had 2 touches against Richmond, Jai Amos, and then during the week, JL was saying like, "Oh, we need to work Amos into the game more." Yeah, he is in bad form, but that's as much on the group and the system as it is his own. And then so obviously that's been a focus during the week. Tracy seemed to play more deeper on the day. Watching it at the ground, I can't really remember who was his direct opponent. Can you remember who it was? Tracy's.
Well, McDonald, was it Turner?
Turner
played back.
I feel like it was McDonald.
McDonald, I think, was more on Tracy and rotated on his brother.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Sorry. Okay. So who was guarding Tracy? McDonald was sort of just like guarding the space in front of Tracy all day, just denying him a run and jump at it. I would have liked to see Tracy maybe go into the ruck, but the game's done. What can you do? Do you know the best part of the day, Noah? Do you want to hear what the best part of the day was?
Tell me.
It's the fact that Cozzy Pickett bloke should be running around in purple next year, because we did not have an answer for this bloke. He was an absolute freak. Every time the ball went near him, he was playing on Josh Draper for most of the day. I think Heath Chapman was the assigned matchup going into it, which, shows like the game last year where he went out late against the Bont. The Bont has a career best game. He goes out, Cozzy kicks 5 and has 24, but... he's been spoken about now as one of the best players in the competition, which is ironic given all the rumours that he's coming to Freo. And by all accounts, it looks like he is coming to Freo.
Yeah, look, if Heath Chapman played, do we win that game? It's as simple as that.
I think we do. I think if you take out, the structural part of our defence, like it's a 10-point margin at the end of the day. And
he stopped at least 2 of them.
Yeah, and I think there was some pretty average ground level efforts, particularly in that first quarter, that, he could have done a job at. But, we've lost now, so what can you do?
Exactly. Look, I think we miss Wagner as well. I think that backline is being chopped and changed so much at the moment. And we played really well last week. I thought we looked so good as a unit back there. And I think I think our backline's been one of the most sound parts of our season so far, even in some of our bad games. But yesterday, they just got torn a new one. I'm not sure what was up. And you look at the names on paper in that Melbourne forward line. I mean, we weren't expecting Harris and Petty to play forward, but it's no excuse for our captain to let 4 goals be kicked on his head. I mean, Moose rarely has that bad a game, but he just looked so far off it. It was really, really.
Have you
odd.
ever watched Thunderstruck?
I have. The KD. Yeah.
You know how they hand each other the ball and the ability switch? I reckon that's what happened with Josh Tracy and Harrison Petty.
I reckon,
He has been spoken like so poorly about in the AFL media over the years, Petty, about like him not being a forward, a bunch of stuff. And for him to kick 4 goals and hit the little like follow through after, like when Harrison Petty's styling on you, you know it's not your day.
It's the most dockery thing ever, letting Harrison Petty kick 4 on you.
But other signs that it wasn't just our day was like Luke Ryan sort of dropping marks 5-10 meters out, and then Cade Chandler just rolls out the back, kicks 1, drops 1, Petty soccers 1 through. Cade Chandler tries to set up, can't remember who it even was, 5 meters out, goes past Cox, bounces through. Like you just have days like that where goals that shouldn't be goals go through, and it's just like that's footy sometimes for you. But yeah, like you said, Brayshaw was phenomenal. think Shea Bolton looked like our best player out there. Every time he was on the ball, it looked like he was going to open the game up for us. Hayden Young back in the side. He's being deployed more as an offensive weapon, which is good when we're winning clearances and getting a bit of field position, but feel like we lacked that defensive mid in the side against the Dees. And given that he is a defender by nature, I wonder where Hayden Young's best position is. What do you think? Where would you like to see Hayden Young? Particularly in games like that. Like, do you swing him back behind the ball? I feel like we needed to adapt more there. But I suppose you want to keep him forward to kick those goals and set them up.
You spoke about method earlier. Like, Hayden Young is still a midfielder for the Fremantle Dockers, but we need to be more versatile in the type of midfielder he is in-game. As you said, as that attacking threat, steaming forward with that beautiful left foot, the blonde locks just blowing in the wind. It's a great sight to see, Freo playing footy like that. But when you are getting pummeled in clearance by a premiership midfield, we've got to chuck him behind the ball because he's played a lot of defensive roles for us in the past in the midfield. He's played a lot of defensive midfield for us, and a lot of the time it works. And for some reason, it's like we're allergic to chucking him in that role anymore. And I feel like we were so one-dimensional.
For the first part of the season. So
well, no, just even chucking anyone in a defensive midfield role. Like when we were playing poorly earlier in the season, one of our main criticisms was we didn't have a defensive mid. Our setup was so wrong. And I think we went back to that on the weekend, and we had Hayden Young, who's so inept at playing that sort of role. It's like we're just so stuck on sort of one type of midfield rotation. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think we need a lot more adaptability. And I think that's got to go down to the midfield coach and JL and whatever. Because I just think our method was so wrong. But to answer your question, yeah, I think Hayden Young is still a midfielder for us.
Yeah. Well, he's playing that mid-forward rotation, but I feel like when you've got Shea Bolton in that half-forward line with Murphy Reid, you've already got good ball users there now. So, I don't know. It would have been nice to see Hayden Young sort of drift back because they were just walking it out of centre clearance. Like, that looks like the prime Dees midfield. They've been 0-5 this year, but yeah, it just wasn't good enough.
And another thing as well, like, as you said, they were walking it out of the midfield. There was none of our halfbacks were pressing up to become an extra mid at any point during that game. Every time we won the ball out the middle, either Windsor or Bowie or Rivers or one of their halfbacks were coming from the edge of the centre square up to the middle, and they were winning the ball straight back. Like, there was a clear system in place for Melbourne. We had none of that. And I thought Jordan Clark had a really good game, but nobody like him or even Draper, who was playing a bit high up, came to the edge of the centre square and provided an extra number and congested the game a little bit. It just felt like it was so easy every time Melbourne went forward.
Yeah, we were talking last week about how we haven't missed Brandon Walker, but I feel like that's the exact type of game where we did miss Brandon Walker.
Mate, I was saying it on the watch-along. Like, I was apologising for my sort of naiveness on how important Brandon Walker is. We needed him that badly on the weekend.
Yeah, when they've got a small forward of that quality, you do need players with that agility and that low centre of gravity. I sort of thought Draper could play, it rolls off the tongue to say he plays small, he can play tall, but when you're playing up against a player of that quality, it doesn't matter how athletic you are, like you need fast feet, you need to be able to change direction fast. And yeah, Draper can play a multitude of roles for us, but yeah, that was a bad matchup. I'm not sure why Geordie Clark didn't go to him. I didn't sort of see that
was
matchup.
Weird. I thought that was the obvious matchup. Maybe we just wanted him to play in that more free quarterback role, which he played well, to be fair, but I think he looked quite defensively sound all day. Like, surely that's just an in-game rotation you make, Clark to Pickett, but, I guess JL knows more than me.
Yeah. We've been praising Michael Frederick the last few weeks. He's been kicking bags of 3. He has an off day, doesn't kick a goal, and we lose by the usual score that he did provide us. So, yeah, bit of a disappointing one, but we'll move on. We've got a big Friday night clash coming up against the Crows this week. The Crows, where are they on the ladder as it stands? 5th, I believe.
Yeah, they've been the 8.
Well, they just beat GWS, which is a massive scalp at home. It was a pretty low-scoring affair, but they've got talent all over the park in this side. The additions that they've had over the off-season with Neil Bullen, Peatling coming, young Sid Draper coming into the side, They've got a dangerous forward line with Tex, Fogarty, Riley Thorpe, who's one of the most dangerous players in the game right now. Probably rated the most dangerous player in the game with Sam Darcy, who's just gone out with an ACL, unfortunately. But yeah, just got stars all over the park, this Crows team. They're going to be a tough test for us on Friday night, primetime viewing at Optus Stadium.
I think this game ties so much into the conversation we just had of having a defensive midfielder. Because if we let Jordan Dawson and Isaac Rankin get off the chain, we are going to lose by 50. Like, those two are so game-changing. And I think Isaac Rankin's the especially difficult matchup because he's a bit like Bolton in the way where he's such a live wire in the front half, but he plays bulk midfield. And it's so hard to find a full-time matchup to go with him. So that's going to be something we're going to have to work out, mitigating Isaac Rankin.
That's exactly what Cozzy did to us on the weekend. So it's like, how quickly can we adapt? Because Rankin is a very similar player with the amount of midfield minutes that that Cozzy's been playing recently.
Yeah, exactly. And Jordan Dawson's the other one. We need Hayden Young behind the ball here. Not playing defense in midfield. Playing a bit like Rodri in a way. Like, we just need him to just set up behind the ball. We need Serong and Brayshaw to do their dirty work. We need them to just play how they've been playing. Hopefully Serong doesn't cop a tag. I don't think he will. Adelaide don't really tag, but we need Hayden Young to be the guy to mitigate Jordan Dawson because he sometimes just absolutely takes the piss and his ball usage is unbelievable going into that front half where they've obviously got so many of those stars like Fogarty and Phil Thorpe, as you were mentioning. So yeah, it's going to be a real challenge. I think contest is going to be such a hard one this week. We need Darcy to really bounce back quickly because Riley O'Brien's a big lump of a ruckman. So I think a lot of this game's going to be determined out of the middle of the ground. And if we can just bring that pressure back from the front half and set up defensively as we have been the past few weeks, excluding the game on the weekend, then hopefully that holds us in good stead. But I feel like this game will be one in the middle of the park.
Could Dogger be back for this one?
No, he's going to be back for the Saints. Yeah, who will be back is Wagner, I believe, which should be a good addition,
and
especially
Chappie,
with some of their
surely.
smalls. Chappie and Wags will be the two ins, I'd say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the midfield there. So Jordan Dawson, I feel like Hayden Young's a very similar player in terms of just ball use, sort of leadership in the middle of the ground. They sort of move pretty similar as well. You'd probably say Brayshaw goes to Soligo. And then Rankin and Bolton are similar types, but yeah, I think Serong will have a big job on Isaac Rankin. Speaking of Serong, you mentioned him getting tagged and being tagged out of games. That's been the method to beat the Dockers so far. Like, the 3 games where he wasn't tagged, he run amok. Like, West Coast didn't have anyone to go with him. Richmond didn't have anyone to go with him. And the Doggies didn't really either. And they paid the price. He probably racked up about 8 Brownlow votes in those 3 games. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Serong, but yeah, David Mundy said it on a podcast that if you can beat the Dockers at the clearance game, they're going to really struggle. And we have so far when Serong's been tagged out of games. It's a big primetime game now. We've got a lot of primetime games coming up. And it's on us to just show that we're actually a serious club now. Like, it's all well and good to say, oh, it's early in the season. Like, we want our best footy to be in 20 weeks. But what we need to see is that our system is consistent week to week because we lost our trademarks against the Dees. It was a good game for a neutral, but yeah, we didn't have the game on our terms at all. You look at good sides like Collingwood. Doesn't matter who comes in. Ned Long looks like a star after playing 2-3 games. It doesn't matter the personnel of great sides. So we just need to see the system stack up and perform on prime time to show that we are the real deal and keep sacking the 4 points. But yeah, don't really know how much I have to add to that. Actions need to be had, and then hopefully we can be celebrating a good win on Friday night, Noah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is us now. Like, our run to the bye from here is so difficult. I'd go as far to say it might be the most difficult in the comp out of any team. This is where we show who we are. The ledger is even. We're approaching the midway point of the season. We're still about, 5-6 weeks away, but up until then, we've got to show the type of footy we want to be playing and showing enough of the trademark to actually solidify ourselves as contenders, because that's what we want to be this year. This season isn't gone and lost. And as you said earlier in the pod, We got nowhere near our trademark on the weekend. We got nowhere near our best footy, and we still only lost by 10 points to a Melbourne team who played fantastically. So it just shows you that the talent's there. The footy is in them. We've just got to put it. We've got to put it out on the park consistently, and we've got to show it on a week-by-week basis against the good teams. Like, you look at our next 5, our next 6 even. You've got Adelaide, you've got St Kilda away, you've got Collingwood, you've got the Giants away, and you've got Port, and then you've got the Suns away. Such tough games. A lot of those in primetime slots. There's no hiding now. We're not hiding the Sunday graveyard shifts against, West Coast or whatever. This is where we really show the competition what we're about. And so often, we've crumbled in these situations and our season just falls away. This is such a critical game on Friday to really show where we're at and show that we're not just here to make up the numbers.
And we can respond, and we're an actual good football club. And let's see, I feel like it's on JL a bit this week. Like, can you motivate this team to get up and get back to our best? We've got enough talent out there. Obviously, we do have a few injuries, but JL, we need a bit of a tactical switch up from last week. We have faith that we can get the job done. We beat Adelaide on this fixture last year, but they are a different beast this year. So, yeah, I think we can wrap it there. Is there anything else you want to add?
Nah, not really. Also, not just on the tactical side of the game, but it's a massive game for the club this Friday, the 28th Len Hall game. Personally, this is my favourite home fixture every year.
Yeah.
We always get put in a primetime slot. It's a big game, 50k rock up to Optus, and it's always so good to honour some of our fallen heroes. Also, Arthur Leggett, who recited the ode a couple years ago at our Len Hall game. He passed away in the past few weeks or months, so we'll be remembering him. So, yeah, it's actually just a massive game for the club as a whole. And yeah, I'm just so keen to get to Optus on Friday night and show them what we got.
Hell yeah. Let's do it. Big week ahead. Prep. We'll be doing an Oppo view this week. I've got Andy Munro on. So that'll be out in the next few days. Preview from Noah and then straight into it again. It's going to swing around pretty quick. Easter Monday. This will probably be out after Easter Monday. But 2 days off and then it's back to Thursday night, Anzac Eve, and then we're on. So the footy season's going to keep rolling. Thanks for joining me, Noah. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Join the Freo Faithful army, and we'll see you in the next one.